Welcome to a new episode of the Yes Impact podcast. Today we're here with Mona Ghazi. She's one of our youngest entrepreneurs in Switzerland and in Germany. She has founded her first company at 16, actually started studying already at 14, and then her second bachelor at 17, if I'm correct. And she is the founder of the Neuropreneur Institute and is doing a PhD also in Neuropreneurship. And we will learn a lot more about that, Mona. It is amazing to have you here in the studio. You're also multi-award winning. You have top 20 under 20 entrepreneurs in Germany. And also the other title was Newcomer of the Year by the German Startup Award. So amazing. And what a lineup at this young age already.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here today and to talk to you about all these things.
I noticed we actually both come from engineering families. So both of our families, your parents, they are mechanical engineers, my parents, civil engineers. And I know from my own upbringing, it's a very like solution-oriented household, and it is very supportive as well and encouraging. And I remember in my household, for example, most of the games we played, they were always engineering related. How was it for you growing up in this kind of environment, and how did it also shape your entrepreneurial journey?
I think definitely the entrepreneurial journey, because sometimes people say you have this entrepreneur DNA thing or whatever. And I think it really came through the environment, because especially having a female role model as my mom, who is also an engineer, made me never question whether I am able to go into tech as well. Like for me, it was like, yeah, of course, both my parents do it. Like, why would I not be able to do it? So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, I think a very typical thing. I wanted to play with a toy, and I wanted to have like a new toy from Toys R Us back then. And my mom always said, how can you build it? So then I used like, I don't know, empty like toilet paper rolls or so, and other like things that I found in the house, and put them together and made a new toy out of them. And this is kind of, I would say, how this creator mindset that every entrepreneur also has established from an early age. And I think it's especially because my parents always said, how can you build it, instead of how can you buy it or so. I don't know, it's like a very early principle that probably shaped me.
Do you remember what the toy was?
The toy that I built?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember. So it was like, I just forgot the English word. It's like flummy, like
Like a bouncing ball.
a bouncing ball, basically.
one.
Yeah, so you basically put two bouncing balls in the toilet paper roll, and then you just put it, like, just drop it, and it just flip flops like everywhere in the house, and it was super fun to play with it. And I mean, like, I think for my creativity it was amazing, and also I played with all of my friends with this toy that I built. And then I also had this um, inventor diary. So from an early age, I think, like, I just started drawing things that I wanted to build. So my parents gave me this little journal, and they said, like, oh, you're an inventor, you're building new toys, like, just paint a picture of the toy that you built and put a description next to it. And I was like 4 or 5 or something. And so I couldn't really write. I just wrote exactly in the way that I thought the things are pronounced. So I remember like short keywords on the description and so on, and filling this like inventor journal step by step. So it was a lot of fun, and thanks for bringing me back into this memory.
I love that. And also how you emphasize the role of your mom specifically as well, because it
Mhm.
resonates so much with myself and my own mother, who was also an engineer, and just seeing her role model and how much she loved her job as well, always emphasized for me as well how I'm going to find a loving career, a career
Mhm.
that I love as well. Yeah, so it's great to hear that. I remember when we first met, we talked about how we both got into very inspiring books super early. And
Yeah.
I think for you, I think you were 10 or 12 when you started reading about the big entrepreneurs of our time, the inspiring ones. And for me at that age, I was reading about human rights people around the world. So I think we were both quite early there.
Definitely.
And you turned it into quite a mission at a very young age. So 14, you suddenly started to study.
Mhm.
which is absolutely exceptional. I mean, I know I looked into that as a young high school student as well, but there was no real option, so I dropped that idea very quickly. And
Mm,
then 16, actually, you started your company,
mm.
and 17, you got bored probably and started another bachelor.
I had more time because I already graduated from school, so I didn't have to go to school anymore.
Perfect, yeah. And I think it was already at the age when you were around 16, 17 that I started seeing you on social media as well, on LinkedIn.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay,
very
wow.
early on. And at the time, or also the years after, you also seen a lot as a prodigy, German Überflieger. How was it for you starting with all of that, like so young, while most of your friends were still just in school, being high school students?
Hmm. To me, it was exactly what I wanted to do and the perfect childhood, how I would have envisioned it for myself, because so many other things didn't feel like aligned with me, especially when I remember going to school. Like, I had such different ideas of what my future life would look like than all the other
Mm.
peers in my school. And so, to me, it was such a gift that I was allowed to study at such a young age next to school, and I was allowed to go to university with other 12 to 17-year-old children. So I had a lot of same aged people who were also studying next to school. And then the same thing in my entrepreneurial career. Luckily, I met people from Sigma Squared or like other founder communities where I had really young and same aged people that had similar ambitions and so on. And to me, this is really exactly what I wanted for my life. So I'm just very grateful that I had this opportunity, and how it was in general, also to grow up with the media like this. I always saw it as just it just happened. Like, I never really thought of it so much. It was just interesting that at some point people on the street came up to me and said, "Aren't you like Mona Ghazi?" And I was like, "How do you know? Like, why do you know me?" And then they tell me my CV, and I'm like, "How do you know my CV? Like, how do you know what I did when I was like 14 or 12?" And then they can quote me on podcasts or so, and I'm like how it's incredible, and it's such a gift that whatever I share, like even talking to you right now, that it reaches people and it really helps them to do what they want to do, and maybe it resonates, and or maybe it doesn't resonate, and then they find out more about who they are and who they want to be, and I'm very happy about this.
That is such a crazy experience at such a young age,
That's
as
true.
well as because we're both from Germany, and Germany is a big country, so to
I
be
know.
recognized there is quite, yeah, exceptional as well.
Yeah, I have to say in my hometown and in Berlin, because
Yeah.
Berlin is like a whole bubble. I don't spend time in a lot of different other cities in Germany.
Yeah, I remember in Berlin, definitely the first years I had that experience as well. Like when I
Mm.
started my entrepreneurship journey, and I
Mhm.
found it quite freaky as well. But
Yeah.
I think yours was on a whole different level. Yeah. um, Actually, what was your first company then?
My first company was a time management app. So I had this vision to build an app that teaches people how they can be more productive so that they can have more free time in the end. And the idea is that I think now it even exists as basically Google Calendar in a in a smarter way. But back then the idea was, so you put in all of your to-dos, and it automatically coaches you which to do or event should be at what point in your calendar, based on your energy level,
Mm.
based on how high your brain activity is during that time, and so on. So basically, you save a lot of time doing the things, for doing the things that you really want to do. Because sometimes when you're working towards a big goal, you also have to do things that you don't prefer for some time, and then afterwards you can start doing the things that you really enjoy, like for example spending time with friends and family, or even if doing a podcast for you is something that you really want to do, having the time for that requires you to have certain other things set up. Like, you need to, I don't know, figure out how you have an income before that, because just starting with a podcast from the very beginning without having a sponsor, for example, will be quite difficult to sustain yourself. So um, from that perspective, it was really optimizing for your own time and well being. And I pitched this at the Web Summit in 2019 because one of my mentors back then had told me, you need to get this out there and test it with people. And back then, we had I had a small team with other junior students from my university, and they were coding the app, and we were like programming for 6 months and so on. And then we pitched it, and no one liked it.
Oh
Like,
no.
I remember I pitched it like 50 times on that day, and I was so exhausted afterwards. And so many people, I had to convince them like why to use it. And I was like, it's so incredible. Like, it's the best idea ever. Like, why is no one so interested in it? Like, how is it possible? And then I remember going back to the hotel room, and I like cried, and my mom was there with me on the business trip. Like, and I remember I told her like, maybe I shouldn't be an entrepreneur. Like, what the fuck? Like, it's not working. Um, why is everyone in the media telling me that what I'm doing is great, and like every mentor is telling me that it's great what I'm doing, but actually no one wants to use the product. Like, so I felt a bit like betrayed or like lied to, because I was like, why don't you give me the hard facts? Like, why don't you tell me what I need to change, or like how I can monetize
Mm.
that and so on? And I think this was a pivotal moment for me to really understand you have to start falling in love with the problem, and then you figure out a solution for the audience instead of building based on an idea and then selling the idea. Because if you just waste time on the idea and you don't know if anyone will ever buy this, or like if it's actually a problem that you're solving for someone, then you're you're working on something in parallel to the market but not on the market.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Such a key thing to do. And then at 21, actually, you experienced something that most people experience way later in their life. You had a burnout and you sold your company as well.
Mhm.
How did you manage to get out of this again? And how did it reshape your perception of success as well?
Mhm. So just to also connect, because we talked about my first company now, and so this was during my second startup,
Ah,
and it was a different company. So there I was building a learning app for blue collar employees, and during this phase, I remember there was a time when every meeting felt like too much, and every time I came back home, I remember feeling extremely exhausted, and I just started crying, and I was like extremely shaky, or I don't know. I just feel that someone could just tip at me and I would just fall down and lay on the floor and cry, because I was completely done. My complete nervous system was, very shaky, I would say. And how was it to experience that? I didn't realize it like for a long time. It's a very slow process to go through a burnout. It's actually something no one can really tell if you have it or you don't have it. In the end, you can label yourself as someone who has burnout, but no doctor will ever say you have burnout, because burnout is not a diagnosis. Severe depression or severe exhaustion is a diagnosis, and I was diagnosed with exhaustion. So, and I was like, yeah, what is that? I mean, I need to take a nap or what? Like,
mhm.
what do you want from me? And it was super difficult, because back then I had already done 6 years of weekly therapy or weekly coaching. So I felt like I'm extremely self reflective. I know exactly how to deal with myself, and I know all the things like breathing and meditation. And like I was like completely well equipped, let's say, on how to prevent it. So I didn't really feel like it is me. And then the same thing, the other thing was, I was thinking, every entrepreneur in my environment works like this. It's not possible that everyone has a burnout and we're like just all collectively ignoring it, you know? So this was my other assumption. But turns out I think we are. I think to some extent there are a lot of entrepreneurs working against themselves. And then it's not necessarily about working too many hours, but it's about working on something you're not fulfilled in. Like when you're doing things that drain your energy, then you're burning out.
Mm.
And since burnout is not a clear yes or no, there's no clear line where you can say you have it or you don't have it. Um, I think it was important for me to make the decision to still decide and to label myself as someone who has this, to allow myself, also working with investors in my own company and other people, other stakeholders that I have to inform, that I need a longer break than 2 weeks. And it was much easier for me to ask for this break I didn't really ask. I said I need it, so just to deal with it, and then to figure out how to work on the company afterwards, because at some point you just find out if the founder doesn't have energy, then the company cannot run anymore. So even if I had set up a very great team and they were working and we had still clients and everything, so everything was well taken care of, which allowed me to then take this 2-month break and then really reflect on all the let's say mechanisms inside of me that were part of my drive that pushed me towards crossing all of my boundaries in a way that I was doing much more than I should have done to my body, which, and you mentioned it, a lot of people have it later in life. I wish that no one has it in their life, but actually, I'm still very grateful that I had it because it is a really eye opening perspective when you have this feeling of not feeling your emotions anymore and feeling like you don't want to do anything, like when you wake up during the day, because you really ask yourself, do people actually feel happy when they wake up? Like, are there actually people who are excited to start their day? And when you're at this point that you're like, you cannot relate anymore to people who feel that way, you make it your mission to change this belief. At least I think there are two ways you can go about it. Either accept it and be completely depressed for the rest of your life, or like me, like figure out a way, how can I help myself be more happy and at peace again and feel all these emotions again without guilt or yeah. And so how was it? I think as for my age, I think it's not a thing about age. It's more about in general, if you have this experience, it's just a really difficult experience. Um, and it was, I'm still grateful for it. So yeah, then learning that the drive was a lot, that I had to prove myself to other people in the world because I felt like I'm not good enough, so I have to work more, and if I work more, I'm more successful, and if I'm a better entrepreneur and I'm more successful, then people will finally accept me and like me for who I am. And I think a lot of people have that inside of us, and then if you're doing things that are really across your boundaries, then you burn out. And yeah, now it's quite different. Yeah.
It's so important that you share this with us as well, because I'm sure a lot of the listeners can actually relate to a lot of this. And you made a lot of changes as well. It also brought you to us, to Zurich.
Definitely.
Beautiful Zurich.
Yes, you're right.
So, and our beautiful lake to take your walks at. Is there a specific part of yourself where you feel you had to outgrow it to be part of your identity to become the person that you are today as well?
I love this question. I feel like every time I become a new version of myself, I have to grieve the old one or let go of the old one. Definitely the part of me that accomplished a lot in a really quick time, because there is this part of me that knows exactly, because of my intellectual capacity, that I can just do a sprint and I can just stress myself to the max. And within a few days or weeks, I can accomplish something that usually people cannot accomplish. It's like something extraordinary. And I identified so much with this being extraordinary and being special, because this was something I was really good at. And apparently, a lot of people in my environment gave me the validation for it, that it's apparently something good. And so I felt safe in doing that. But actually, over the past years, I really learned to deal with this part of myself, because it's not a bad part. I think it's still special and I still want to honor it. But I don't want this to be the only way I identify myself. I think now it's much more, uh, I live less based on my goals and more on my intuition. I think this is the biggest shift in general, that I don't work towards goals necessarily. I feel into my intuition, and then the goal comes up. And when I feel like this is right, then I also kind of know what I need to do to get there, but it's usually aligned. It feels aligned because it's from my intuition, from what I want to do. And then I don't feel like I need to push against something. It just feels like it's more flowing. And yeah, and therefore I had to let go of this I'm special and extraordinary. And coming more towards yes, that's a part of me and I have this capability, but it also costs me a lot. Like it
Mm.
costs me being sick, having burnout, not seeing a lot of friends, like all these things, all these sacrifices, which in general back then I was happy to take, but now not anymore because um, I know now after 2 years of doing something I'm really fulfilled in and changing my life in a way where every task they do is aiming to give me energy, you know. Now I know that you don't have to do things that are against yourself to be successful. Like you can be successful and happy and at peace
Mm.
and doing the things that you really like. And yes, sometimes they're hard, but it doesn't mean that they have to stress you out. Like it's okay to do hard things. It's part of the deal when you're growing, but you don't have to stress about them.
It's really fascinating and really impressive, actually. It's a massive shift in your own trajectory.
Hmm.
Now you also founded the Neuropreneur Institute and you're doing a PhD in neuropreneurship, basically. You will have to explain to our listeners more about that and also
Yeah.
how you got into that, because I don't think everybody knows what exactly that means.
Yeah, so I'm really fascinated about neuro-entrepreneurship because it's the combination of neuroscience and looking at entrepreneurs, especially. And there are a lot of studies in neuroscience that suggest that a lot of entrepreneurs, over 70%, have some kind of neurodivergence, so around ADHD or something like that, which then changes the way they think and act and behave. And what got me into this is actually my own experience in experiencing burnout and so on, because I found out that you can reprogram your brain to be more at peace with yourself. Because what I just mentioned, the belief, for example, that I'm not good enough if I don't work 24/7, or I'm a bad entrepreneur if I don't work all the time. This was one of my beliefs. It is something that I was so convinced about based on the experiences that I had before. But using neuro coaching or hypnosis, even tools that in entrepreneurship in general we're not very conscious of, we are not aware of, we haven't learned that so much, um, can change not only the belief but also the feeling associated to the belief. So when I think I'm a bad entrepreneur if I don't work enough, what happens is I feel like a contraction in my body and I feel a bit sad and I feel like a bit desperate. And when I change it to, for example, I'm a successful entrepreneur when I do the things I love, there's back then a part of me that would be like, no, 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 this is wrong. And this is your unconscious mind with the unconscious rewiring, everything that you learned from before. And if you want to change that, you can use neuro coaching because it's based on the assumption that over 90% of our thoughts and beliefs and behaviors are unconscious and 10% are conscious, meaning that if I just tell myself the affirmation, I'm a successful entrepreneur, as long as my unconscious mind doesn't believe it, it will not change the feeling. It will just change this thought. And so I will just continue doing the old behaviors, the old patterns, and so on. And my mission at the Neuropreneur Institute is to bring awareness to entrepreneurs to change their beliefs and behaviors based on the unconscious mind, because this is the shortcut to changing your beliefs, so that they can find more inner peace and fulfillment and then build the companies from a place of love and fulfillment and doing something that they're really passionate about, even if it's hard. I'm not saying it shouldn't be hard or like you shouldn't perform, but yeah, really helping the people to change their minds and to help them deal with self-doubt and anxiety and so on. Because a lot of the times when we have a business problem, there's actually a psychological block behind it. For example, you're not in like even um, when people want to post on LinkedIn, what sometimes what they're thinking is like, I don't have the time for it, or I don't have ideas what to post. But what's actually blocking them is the fear of being seen. It's the fear of, if I'm seen, then people might not like me, or they will think that I'm dumb, or they will think that my content is bad, and maybe then they don't hire me anymore, or I don't find clients anymore, or whatever, you know. And it comes back to an existential fear that your unconscious mind kind of connected to it. So what you can then do in a neuro coaching, for example, is you go into a meditative state. So you change your brain frequency from beta to alpha frequency. And in this moment, you can override your memories, kind of. You can re experience your memory And in this memory, you can then connect the thought of, I'm a successful LinkedIn creator, to the positive feeling of you feel empowered, you feel happy. And whatever you post, even if it's a mistake, you will still feel this way because you kind of reprogrammed yourself to feel that way. And I just want to bring these tools to as many people as possible so that we can all live more from a place of self empowerment and less from self doubt.
That is extremely powerful. And we both coach a lot of
Mm.
already successful entrepreneurs or people with a lot of potential as well. And I think we both feel the same limitations they often have, which is self inflicted often, as you say. It is the limiting beliefs. It is, oh, I had a failure once, so it's going to be that again. So your tools are extremely powerful. Yeah. And I'd like to ask, is there a neuro mechanism, a neuro hack that you
Yeah.
feel most people could access already, but they're
Yeah.
not using it? Something for our listeners.
So, for example, you can use EFT. This is a tapping mechanism or tapping technique. So, you basically tap on your head or on your chest. And at the same time, you can use affirmations like, I'm safe, I'm loved, I love myself, something like that, or whatever you want to teach yourself. And the reason why this works neuroscientifically is because you're connecting a physical movement from your somatic nervous system, so the part of your body that can consciously decide to move, with the thought. And if you're saying it at the same time, so you're saying it out loud, what's also happening is that your vagus nerve, so a nerve that is in your spinal cord basically, gets also activated because through the vibration of your voice that comes along the spine, it stimulates, and then you can imagine that there are a lot of neural pathways that connect at the same time. So you have the physical movement of the tapping, you have the saying I love myself, so you're actually saying a thought and you're connecting it to this, let's say, the air that is resonating at a certain frequency through your body and thereby also activating the vagus nerve. So this is one neuro hack, let's say. And then there is another one that I really like, which is when you're massaging your earlobe, for example, because interestingly, it's also connected to the vagus nerve in a way. So, or you're massaging your neck, for example. It really helps to regulate the vagus nerve. And when the vagus nerve is activated, your parasympathetic nervous system also gets activated. So, the part of your body that helps you to be relaxed and to just enjoy life.
Excellent. I love these hacks. And especially the tapping one. I'm already using myself and I learned that one from you. Yeah.
Really?
I
I'm
did,
so
yeah.
happy about
It was I think it was an Instagram reel or something.
Oh,
from
nice.
you,
I should
yeah.
post more reels if I didn't have this fear of being seen.
Yeah. Also, I recommend people to follow you because you have very practical tips,
Yes.
and I really like this in when
Thank
people
you.
post, yeah, on social media. Also, you were talking about the brainwaves. So
Yeah.
we have beta, which is often like high beta when we go into very stressful periods and we're just working on implementing our to-do list. And also you have alpha or theta, where it is a lot more. How would you describe
Calm
it?
and
Actually,
concentrated.
yeah, calm and concentrated. And you talked once about how we can actually consciously move into one of the different, more useful brainwaves when we need it as well. How do we do that? And can you just explain a bit about the brainwaves?
Definitely. So you just described the more useful brainwaves. I think all the brainwaves, they serve different purposes. So more useful towards, for example, relaxing yourself or learning new things and using the principles of neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity is the ability of our brain to make new connections and basically to learn something new. Is to for example close your eyes, because beta, you can imagine beta is a frequency that is often associated with cognitive tasks that are related to the prefrontal cortex a lot. So this part of your brain in the front. And when you're doing these tasks, you also kind of, yeah, it's just connected. So you kind of need this brainwave area to really think actively and to be critical about your thinking. And it's not really like you're switching from alpha to beta or theta or whatever or delta. It's more like it's a bit like on a DJ pult, so you can put some up and some down, and you have a higher activity in one, and then you have a lower activity in another. It's not like you can completely turn the brainwaves off, because this is something that I thought in the beginning, that you just turn on alpha and you turn off beta, but it's not really like that. So to turn on alpha, if we want to call it like that, to increase the alpha awareness and to lower the beta frequency, one thing we can do is shake. Like when you shake your body, like you really shake. Like, for example, sometimes I wake up in the morning in my bed and I feel really lazy to get up, but then I start to just shake my hips. And through this movement,
Shakira in the bed.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And then just through this movement, it gives a signal to my body and brain that I'm awake now, and that I'm in this frequency of absorbing new information without being critical about them. And alpha is typically when you're in flow. So people who study a lot, or when you're doing a pitch deck, or when you're um, pitching in front of people, like you see when people get in the flow, and this is when you can see they're in an alpha state, like they're really focused, they're in this tunnel. And the same thing happens, for example, when you're driving a car. So you don't necessarily need to have your eyes closed, but one way is you can close your eyes and put a 10-minute timer and go into the meditative state, which will also get you into alpha. Um, and then the other thing would be, for example, to shake your body, because you can also measure how this physical movement of your body will also put you into more alpha brain frequencies.
Wow, that's very insightful. If
Mhm.
we could imagine the brainwaves like guests at a party,
Yeah.
how would you describe them? I think beta
Oh.
would be like the host, like running around and making
Yeah.
sure everybody has their drinks and all the food is
Mhm.
filled up and
Mhm.
things like that.
Oh, I really like this. I think alpha would be kind of like a nerd, but like a very open and empathetic nerd, like someone I see like someone who's wearing a smart casual outfit and has maybe like glasses and is walking around um trying to tell the stories of the people that he just listened to
Hmm.
or they just listened to. Um then I would say theta. I imagine like a person laying on the couch and just sleeping. And then sometimes from time to time
Passed out
someone
from the beer.
taps
Yeah.
taps them on the shoulder and is like, you know what? Do you want something more? But like in deep thoughts. It looks like they're sleeping, but actually they're probably thinking about something. Yeah. And then Delta probably, I see Delta like being on a desk somewhere and taking notes. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good description. That would be a fun party to be at.
Definitely, yeah.
You're also working with hypnosis.
Mhm,
And I think one video where you caught my attention at the time was
mhm,
a long time ago, and it spoke about lucid dreaming and
mhm.
how you, as a student, you had already used it to study actually in your
Yeah.
dreams. And I'd love to know how you work with hypnosis
Mhm.
and lucid dreaming today. And I think lucid dreaming you briefly have to explain as well.
Okay. So I use principles from hypnosis and lucid dreaming to get into an alpha state, because in the alpha state, I can change my unconscious thoughts, or I can learn new things. Because changing unconscious thoughts in the end is nothing else than neuroplasticity. You're basically teaching your brain something new, a new behavior, a new thought, a new feeling, whatever. So you're in general, you want to get to the ability where you can just like that go into a different consciousness state. And lucid dreaming is something that it's the ability to actively watch your thoughts while you're dreaming. So when you lucid dream, is you're sleeping during the night, you have a dream, and you're conscious right now. This is a dream, and you're. It's not like you don't know if this is reality or not, but you're really conscious. This is right now a dream, and you can see exactly what's happening in the dream as if you're an observer. At the same time, you also have the ability to change things within the dream, so you can actively control the dream. And this is the ability that I use to study, to learn something new. So you don't only have to do the lucid dream during your night sleep. I do it a lot when I have naps during the day. Um,
Wow.
and so you can have like a 20-minute nap, and then before having the nap, you write down the topic that you want your mind to think about while you're in this dream state. So one topic could be, I have um, I have um, I have a keynote coming up on a topic of inclusiveness, which I should talk to you about because I think you can help me with that.
Definitely.
And so what I do is I put some notes in the beginning on a mind map on this topic, and then I go into my nap and I go into this state. And I already, because I practiced so many times, I have in my mind a mental room where I can think about keynotes, for example. So it is a room in my big villa at the beach on my own island in my fantasy. And in this room, I have like really big wide glasses and a lot of holograms. So I can just use my hands and pull things around without using a screen, for example. And then I see the mind map again of the things that I just wrote down. And in this state, the thing is, in this state, you can think like 7 to 10 times faster. It's like when you think about a dream sometimes can feel like hours, but it was just minutes. And this is what we use to study faster, because in this state, your brain can learn much faster. This is why I use it. So let me say, like, I have this keynote that I want to think about, and I put it together in my head, and then I imagine from my villa in this fantasy space, how does it look like if I'm on stage? So I just go to the next room and I'm on the stage thinking about my audience and how will they look at me? How will they feel when I say things? What's most important for them to hear? So I just feel into how it will feel like. And then I write down the script. So after the snap, I think about the key lines that catch the audience. I just have this, it's kind of like a movie in my head, and I just write down after the nap what kind of caught the audience's attention. And you can do that with anything, like even when you're doing you're learning a maths formula, for example. I did that a lot when I was in school, and I studied because I had to learn higher mathematics for my studies, and I did the derivations basically in my dreams to connect all these things. And it sounds very difficult when I say it like that, but it's something that you just have to practice. It's like, I don't know, when you learn to play basketball, you also have to do it a couple of times until you can hit the basket. It's the same thing with lucid dreaming. If you learn it a couple of times, yes, of course, at some point you will be able to do it.
That is extremely impressive.
And I have a course in it. So anyone who wants to learn, it has a pretty high success rate. Like everyone
I believe that.
who made the course, who went there was like, I never dreamed before. Like, how come I suddenly started dreaming again? And I'm like, yeah, see, this is your unconscious mind. This is the magic.
I'm definitely going into this course at some point as well.
Yes,
I started lucid dreaming when I was a child because it's the way a lot of people start when they have nightmares as a child.
True.
And I was always chased by a big, big snake in my dream, and I didn't like it. So that's how I actually started with lucid dreaming. And then later, I still have them occasionally, but not in a systematic way yet. So it's definitely something that I want to practice. And the way you practice it is extremely impressive, like very advanced, really. Yeah.
And I love to teach it because it's so cool. Like you could just do it during your nap or whatever. And it's very similar to hypnosis. I mean, in my PhD, I'm studying the difference between meditation, hypnosis, lucid dreaming, all these things. And I think where it all comes down to is you're changing your state of consciousness. And because you're changing the awareness of your brain and where you focus on, you could form new neural pathways and you can make new behaviors automatic. Yeah.
I think there's so much potential in that, and it's so underutilized. I don't hear many people speak about it. Sure, some people speak about manifestations or affirmations. These are more common topics, but people notice a lot that they'll say something like, hey, I want to be a millionaire in 6 months.
Yeah.
And of course, you already know it's not going to happen. And also, the way you describe it is there's a bouncer basically at your subconscious, and your subconscious is very powerful, as we know. And that bouncer basically says, like, seems completely unrealistic. The time frame is not something that's feasible, basically. So it doesn't even let this manifestation or affirmation in.
Yeah.
And you speak a lot about that. How can we phrase our affirmations in a way that they are, stretching, they're really ambitious, but they're still realistic for us so
Mhm.
that we can actually achieve them as well?
Mhm.
And that the bouncer at our subconscious says, like, yes, let's go for it. And we
Yeah,
can really level up with it.
yeah. You need to use your feelings to change your affirmation. So when you say an affirmation like, I am a millionaire in June, whatever, it's actually a good start because number one, your brain, if you tell it often enough, you cannot really differentiate did it already happen or not.
Mm.
But you have to add to the sentence that you say the whole feeling and the environment. Like you have to get yourself into the state as if this is normal. So you have to really understand how does a person behave that has accomplished your goal, because it really depends. If you're someone who already makes 900K per year, a million is not a problem. It will not change a lot in the way you think. But if you're making 10K a year, it's a huge stretch. So you have no idea like what kind of habits you would have as a person, how you would wake up, how you would feel about your invoices or about going to a restaurant. Like you need to really think about how will your life change. And this also kind of sounds like manifestation, but in the end, manifestation and visualization, all these things, it's just a way to manipulate the brain into thinking that something is true that is not true. And if you convince the brain, you're also convincing the bouncer. So you need to figure out a story that will convince the bouncer that this is actually true and achievable. And another thing you can do is if you just use neuro hacks to go into this alpha state, and then you can bring if you're in the alpha state, it's kind of like your bouncer is taking a nap, so you can just bring information straight to the unconscious mind.
Mm.
And so changing an affirmation from "I am a millionaire in June next year" to something that feels more achievable. So um, and you just have to feel into it. Change the number to how does it feel if I have 500K on my bank account? Or is it on my bank account, or do I have 100K in startup investments,
Mm.
100K in real estate investments, and 100K on my bank account? Like, really, you need to be extremely clear on how does it actually look like, because just the sentence itself will not change anything. You really need to understand what comes with it. And when you understand that actually, in order to have the 100K on my bank account, I need to either give myself dividends from my company, or I need to win in the lottery, or about whatever. You can start listing all the options that are available, and obviously you can prepare yourself to be gifted by the universe or so.
Yeah.
That's it's a possibility to just be open to it. But you can also position yourself in a way that it's more probable, that it's a higher probability that you will achieve this goal. For example, by hiring the right people, by having a mentor, by learning how someone behaves that you want to embody in the future.
Mhm.
Yeah. So affirmations are more about embodiment. It's just one part of the whole package of changing in the end your behavior and identity.
I feel like we're getting the total package today of how to fix our life and our entrepreneurial journey. I
This is
love
the
it.
goal. This is the goal.
Fantastic. No, this is wonderful. When you look at high potential individuals, professionals,
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, where do you think, like, what is one common mistake they all make, and how can we fix that, basically?
Think about their feelings.
Okay.
This is a big problem, or not a problem, but something really funny that I see in high performance, also in myself. It's like you're over rationalizing what you feel. You need to have a reason for everything you feel. It's like, you go from just thinking to feeling. I see that a lot. Like a lot of high performers, they're like, now I feel my emotions. I'm like, so like, finally, I know this is sadness, this is anger, this is, like you allow yourself to feel. But then the thing is, they think about it and they rationalize it. It's like, oh, I felt this way because this person didn't call me, or
Hmm.
I blah, blah. Instead of just feeling the feeling, like when the feeling is there, you can decide, do I want to feel it? Do I want to feel it at a later point in time, or is it like maybe not a valid feeling and maybe I'm like overreacting? I think having this super high cognitive conscious part of yourself
Mm.
always there, this is a good strength in high performers because it allows you to plan and predict. But if you allow a bit more of this intuitive part that is connected to the feelings, you can be much faster with your thinking. Like it's a 10x. Trust me, like I work with so many people. Like I'm working with an entrepreneur who she was working in a big corporate and built a company next to this. Yeah. And then her goal was to quit the corporate job and just be full time with her company. It took us like 8 months, and now it's like much more than what she earned in the company before. And what we needed to change for that to happen was her whole identity, like this whole idea of who am I within this corporate context and who am I in this
Mhm.
entrepreneurship context.
I think that's something that is not even commonly talked about much.
Mm.
And one thing that psychologists will always tell us is like feel out the feeling, but then don't read too much into it as well, which is what you're saying as well. And a lot of people also just rush past these emotions as well by distracting themselves and going into new things as well.
Let me quickly add
Yes.
something because I just noticed for me this was really important when I learned about my burnout and how to deal with it, is to not identify yourself with the feeling. See yourself as the observer of
Hmm.
yourself. Because it before I was like, I'm sad, I'm angry, whatever, like I'm frustrated. It's not like now I don't see it that way. Now it's like Mona, the human, has an experience of sadness. Mona is right now experiencing this feeling, and then I can decide, do I want Mona in this body to feel that way right now? Or do I like want to help her and distract her or whatever? Like it gives you much more power and
Hmm.
choice over this situation. And also another fun fact: emotions only happen for around 90 seconds. So if you're in a tantrum, if you're in a rumination
Hmm.
or whatever, you're really anxious, panic attack, whatever. Actually, you only feel the emotion for maximum 90 seconds. And afterwards, the only thing you're feeling is the repetition of the same hormones and the same thoughts and everything that is triggered all the time.
That is very deep and very wonderful. Yeah. And it leads me directly to my next question actually. I mean, you've achieved so much at a very young age, but what is it when you get like a bad failure or something? You were hoping to get this amazing keynote speech or project or whatever, and you
I have
get
many examples of
rejected. Yes, I know. We talked about it. Yeah. How do you deal with that emotion? Because it can be, we can talk so much about feelings and just observing them
Yeah,
and things, but it still hurts in that moment,
yeah,
let's face it. And it still hurts the next day a little bit as well. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Um, Number one, I let myself feel this way. So when for example, recently I got rejected from a journal for my PhD where I wanted to put an article and I got rejected. And it's it's hard when you work so hard towards a goal and it doesn't work. It's bad. But one thing I tell myself is the next opportunity will be even better. If I gave my best and this was not it, then it was not the right thing for me. That's one thing. And the other thing is um, maybe I actually could change something in the way I work. And is this an opportunity for me to learn something out of it? So this is just the cognitive part. But now the emotional part, what I do is if I have the possibility, I will take time off to take a walk or to cry or to sit in front of the mirror and just look at myself into my eyes and just meditate, just looking into my eyes, because this allows myself to feel the feelings and have all the thoughts coming up with it. And sometimes I make a voice recording on my phone where while I meditate and I just speak out loud all the thoughts that I have. Like
Hmm.
it's it's possible that I say things like, "Oh, I was not good enough, and I should have done better, and I will never make it as a scientist. Like, I have no proof that it's working. Like, should I stop? Whatever. Like, all these thoughts." Then I have the possibility to allow a different voice in myself that says, "Mona, this is the old story that you're telling yourself right now. It's not true. You're still learning. It's okay. Like, when you look at the statistics, only 5 to 7% get accepted. It's fine. Like, you're still learning." And it's also okay to be sad, to kind of learn to self-soothe or to
Hmm.
be compassionate with myself. This is something that really helps. And then other things like when I'm really, really triggered or have a panic attack, then it's like glucose, like eat chocolate um, or drink a Coke or shake my body, start dancing, or call a friend because co-regulation is really important.
Mhm.
So when you have someone around, even physically, who can just give you a hug, it will directly help you to regulate and to feel more relaxed. And I started allowing myself this because before I thought I need to do everything myself and I need to be able to regulate myself. But it's completely okay to ask a friend or anyone close to you for this kind of help to help you regulate in that moment if it's difficult for you to regulate yourself.
I think these are absolutely amazing tips.
Mm.
What do you see as your own personal biggest problem right now?
Hmm. I think for me, the biggest challenge right now is to balance the PhD and my company because I, yeah, it's a constant battle between estimating something I don't know how long it will take me because the PhD is very unknown for me every time I'm doing something new. So it's difficult for me to estimate. The business, it's much easier to estimate, but when I think about my time, every person only has 24 hours in a day. I told myself I will only work a certain amount of time per day so that I have the rest of the time to be with myself and to um, prioritize my health and friendships and so on. So right now, a challenge for me is actually to figure out when do I want to have my next, let's say, sales cycle, and when do I want to really have like deep work. Or, and then this is the third option that I'm exploring right now, but I'm not a really big fan of it yet, um, is to combine both at the same time in a really high pace. Um, so yeah, it's a challenge I haven't really found a solution to yet, but I have a good friend that she's my accountability partner and we
Mhm.
talk about it a lot. So I'm in good hands with that.
Excellent. Do you also have coaches yourself or programs you participate in to reach the next level?
I always have a coach when I want to reach a new transformation.
Mm.
Right now, I don't work with a coach, but I work with an online program. So it's kind of like a coach. It's more like self-paced. I could talk to her as a coach, but I prefer to do it in my own pace right now.
Mm.
And then, yeah, maybe next year in Q3, I want to work with a coach again.
They're very helpful. Yeah, I have
Yeah, I
my
know.
own network of
I
them.
love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it helps you so much while also coaching others, and then you can
And
also pass on the knowledge. Yeah.
exactly. And now I started in my mastermind, I started coaching people the Neuropreneur method.
Mm.
So a lot of my clients, they now coach me. It's really funny. So sometimes when I have a coaching call and I'm supposed to coach them, I coach them in coaching me so
Yeah.
that they learn how to coach in this method. And basically, I'm just there being in trance in like a meditative state and they just solve my problems for me. I
I
love
love
this.
that. That's
Yeah.
so cool.
This is a new business model.
Amazing. I need to think more like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let people pay for you to get coached.
That is absolutely insane. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's worth a LinkedIn post, actually.
definitely.
If you could meet yourself, either you're 10 years younger,
Mhm.
so that would be 13-year-old Mona,
Yeah.
or your 10 years older self,
Mhm.
33 years old. Which one would you meet and what would you ask them or tell them?
I think the younger. Um, so the younger Mona, I would tell her, I know everything is a lot right now, and I just want you to know that I'm always here for you, and there's nothing you can do wrong. Just do whatever feels best. Yeah, this is what I would tell her.
I think that's beautiful. And I think she's going on a beautiful journey at that age. Yeah. Mona, it has been such a pleasure having you here. Do you have any final words for us today?
Do something that makes you smile.
I love that. And we've done this podcast with a lot of smiling, so we're right on
Yes,
topic. Yes.
I know. Yeah, I love that.
Thank you so much for having
Thank you
been
so
here.
much.